Why are you smiling like that? You got a little smile on your face.
Nah, it is crazy.
Alright.
That good. That recording.
You good, brother?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Let me know when you're done and I get started.
Yeah, good. I'm just getting the focus right now.
Alright.
Y'all recording already.
Alright. Welcome to the Voice of the Youth podcast. We will be talking with Miss Kari Mancini today. And the focus of our conversation is about education and what can we do differently. So, Miss Kari Mancini, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Kari Mancini. I've been a physical education and health teacher for 13 years now. I was also formerly a professional soccer player and currently am helping with evaluating youth players for colleges.
Helping or you the actual scout? I feel like it was
Scouting for
so
colleges.
All right, so before we get to this, so when you scout, like how far do you go?
All around Connecticut, Mass, sometimes New York, depending on the need and the players.
Get like bonuses if you find like that next it person or
Yes.
no? That's for real?
Yes.
That's actually dope. Okay. All right. So one, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. So in your eyes, education, what are some of the things when it comes to SEL support that we're kind of missing or doing well at?
I think that nowadays, when it comes to the education, we are focusing on standardized testing as opposed to focusing on the current individual needs that are in the classrooms.
So the one size fits all mentality is alive and well in education in your estimation.
Correct.
Okay. What are some of the things that you would want to see done? What have you done to kind of, stop that process from impacting our students?
Well, currently where I work, there's smaller classroom sizes, so that for one is a key. And I try to individualize the programs based upon the students that are there. So for an example, in the physical education classes, if there was a student who couldn't quite reach the basketball hoop, I would have another alternative where there was a hoop at a lower level for that individual.
Okay. So right now, that's what you're doing differently, and that's what's missing. That alternative option for those kids who are not at age appropriate levels or skill sets.
Correct.
Okay. Do you feel like the kids are able to see themselves in the work that they do?
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes students are just pushed along where teachers will help them do the majority of the work and the student can't feel that success and feeling proud of themselves for actually completing it. Whereas other students feel as though the work is too easy and not to their level. So they feel like they're doing baby work, what they would call it.
So you kind of said a lot right there. So I kind of want to break that down. What are the actual technical terms for what you just described?
No Child Left Behind, I would say, is one of them.
Okay.
That is currently implemented where there's no student left behind and they're just being pushed forward.
And then for that first point, how does that impact the next grade level? They're just being pushed along.
So it impacts it where that student is not going to be at the grade level, so they're continuously going to be behind because they're never going to be caught up.
And now we're seeing trends when it comes to students who are, like you said, some of them are bored because it's baby work, and some of them are not even getting their needs met because they don't even know what's going on. Is that accurate to say?
Correct, yes.
How does that impact teaching? How does that impact you as an educator?
So it's difficult as a teacher, especially in the larger classroom settings, because we feel as though we cannot meet the needs of all of our students. So we're just meeting the needs of the average students as opposed to everyone.
Okay. And if we're breaking that down when it comes to SEL supports, or when you have kids who are acting out or doing things, is that a result of them not understanding the work or them being bored in the classroom?
Yes, correct. A lot of times when students are bored in the classrooms or when the work is too difficult, they'll cause a scene because they're not getting the attention that they need or the help that they need. If the work's too difficult, they don't want to bring attention to themselves, showing other students in the class that they're not at the same level, so they'll act out instead to get kicked out of the class as opposed to getting the help that they need.
Wow, that's a lot. So I guess my other question would be then, when it comes to those supports, do you feel in your own point of view, do our teachers have the training, the skill sets to handle that, or is that something that's more needed within the school systems now more than ever?
I think it's more needed than ever in the school systems currently. I feel as though some teachers might have some of the skills based upon the current levels and their settings that they've been teaching it in. But I feel like a lot of teachers are blindsided when it comes to those situations.
So I have a question. So mine is more like, okay, so prior to the pandemic, was this a problem?
I think it was a problem, but I think it was more noticeable during the pandemic.
So now it's kind of like the gap has widened significantly because of the pandemic and kids being out of school for so long.
Correct, yes.
Okay. How do you feel about technology?
I think technology can be a pro, and I think teachers could utilize it more in the classrooms to help the development of the students and help meet all of the individual students' needs in their current classrooms settings.
Okay. So I guess so we had like a magic wand or this magic whatever app, whatever you want to call it. And it was basically, okay, so we have a classroom of 20 students. To your point, given the scenario, we have kids at all different levels. I use reading and writing at this point in time. All different levels from 3rd grade reading level to a 12th grade reading level. Would an app be helpful of being able to program standardize, not standardize, be the wrong word, be able to program kids at their reading level for each assignment? Would that be something that would be beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be beneficial, and that would take the need off of the teacher trying to create a curriculum or teach a lesson that the 3rd grade level is going to understand it as well as, let's say, like the 7th grade level. And it'll be able to challenge all individual students as opposed to just those like average students, average grade level.
Okay, so now moving that the needle a little bit further, would that be beneficial when we're trying to collect data to see the growth of what students are doing from each level, so we can actually prepare them for the next grade level?
Absolutely, I think the technology would play a prominent role in that tracking system, and it would be more accurate as well.
Okay. So I think in our conversation, I've kind of heard like 3 main buckets, and if there's another bucket that I'm missing, please let me know. I heard you talk about SEL supports are lacking. When teachers having the training for it. I heard that students don't really see themselves in the work, so not having culturally responsive work. And then also just the issue when you have to target so many different grade academic levels in one classroom. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, that's correct.
How do you manage all that? I know you said in a smaller classroom, but how do you manage all that even in a smaller classroom?
In the smaller classroom, it's quite difficult. We often had an aide where I would separate the class into two classes in smaller groups, where the top 3 achieving students would be in one group and the lower 3 would be in another group. But still at times it's difficult to meet the needs of each student in those groups, because normally the lowest student is very low and the highest student is higher than the rest.
And would an application of this kind, would that be something that would be beneficial in the classroom because it allows you to have more flexibility with preparing for the class, but also moving around in the classroom?
Correct, right. And I think it would challenge each individual student as well. And when a student was struggling with a particular subject or problem, the teacher at that point would be able to come over and help the student individually in those situations.
So we've talked about a lot of serious stuff. And my biggest thing is always like, how do we promote the youth of our students? When you see students who are engaged and they're active in their work and they're learning, what kind of personality do you see with them? Do you see any change in them being more happy, more sad, more, shutting down? Like, what do you see from the students when they feel more included in their learning environment?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge thing to have students buy into their education, and when they are showing that they are succeeding and excelling in certain areas, they do have that glow about them and the happiness and then the want to continue their education. Whereas sometimes if it's too difficult, they would get frustrated and not want to partake in school work anymore.
Well, we're going to wrap this up pretty soon, but I did you a disservice. I didn't, you talked about your years of experience, but in years of experience, what kind of school systems have you been in? What mental health facilities have you been in? Can you speak more to that so the viewers have more of a background knowledge of you?
Sure. In my 13 years, I was in a residential therapeutic behavioral school, 10 years at one school, 3 years at another, both similar facilities.
Okay. And working in those, I don't want to say high crisis, but in those situations where we have kids who we know are there for specific reasons, do you think having technology or an application in the school system would be beneficial for those students?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think we would be able to meet their needs more so. And I also think it would make learning a lot more fun for those individuals because they all seem to be more techie these days.
Do you anticipate if, the voice that you've had something like that, do you anticipate any pushback, anybody who would be hesitant to try to use something like this?
There's always those people who will be hesitant to use new things or try things a different way, but I think ultimately once they see the success of the students, they would be more likely to accept it and move forward with it.
Cool. I thank you for your time. I want to end off with a positive note. Can you share a funny story from over your 13 years of experience of a student that you were working with from beginning to end? Like any good stories that you have? With no names.
Okay, no names. So my first day at, am I allowed to say where I was working?
Yeah.
Okay, so my first day at Swice, I was walking through the hallways, brand new as a day one teacher, and all of a sudden, this guy drops down on the floor, starts screaming and kicking and rolling around. And that was the day I questioned, what did I just get myself into? Because he was one of the students who were currently supposed to be in my classroom. But obviously being a new teacher, he did not want to introduce himself to me or be in my classroom because I was a new face. He wasn't sure that I was going to be somebody safe. But long story short, we moved forward a year and a half, and he was currently one of my best students. He has plans to finish high school and to go to a community college and is now moving out of Swice on Wednesday.
Awesome. And what is Swice?
It is the Susan Wayne Center of Excellence. It is also a residential therapeutic behavioral school.
Okay. And
it's run by JRI.
I love those stories, and I think that speaks more to your point, when a child feels like they have a safe space, when they feel like they can be in an environment where they can learn, and they have, their needs are being met, they can be successful, and they can change their trajectory on where they're going. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, Mrs. Kari Mancini, I appreciate you for coming by today, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, it's still going to be recorded, but it is what it is. That wasn't too bad, right?
Yeah, no, that was good.
I feel like my head was sweating, my ears were on fire. Like, what was going on? Like, I was dying. This sun right here is crazy.
That was
Yours is
fun.
right there. Okay, let me grab the next person.
Thank you.
No, thank you. That was dope. I appreciate it. We got to hang out sometime soon.
You want me to stop at Thursday? Well, it was nice meeting you.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just.
Nice meeting you as well.